Okay, Accidental Ascension, turn 29, and let's go through what happened and then have a look at the map. We've got a Dwarven Hammer from Patala. So we have a good friendship going with the monkeys of Patala. Of all the people on the map, they're probably the ones I've aligned closest to. And we don't have access to Dwarven Hammers. Dwarven Hammers are something they can do. So we're taking a Dwarven Hammer for the moment. Very good of them. 36 fire gems. So this is all for the massive water gems I sent. So this is a one-to-one trade-off across various categories, primarily fire. Why am I getting fire? Well, I don't have much fire income, and eventually I'll get Lightless Lanterns, and I sure love Lightless Lanterns. I love research items. I love getting ahead of the curve because it gets you to the compositions that you know for a nation quicker, so you can win battles reliably and not lose. Losing battles slows you down a lot in this game, so fire gems equals research. Earth and air, generically useful. The Astral Pearl we didn't ask for, they gave it to us as a sort of thank you for giving us the water gems. We don't need more, but hey, Astral Pearl, fine by me. Research in Conjuration 5 is complete. Next up is Evo 7. So Conj 5, that means we now have Voice of Tiamat, which will drop on all 4 of our water provinces this turn. It also means we have water elementals, which are handy. Lots of site searching and no luck, but we found 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 blood saves this turn across our 2 blood hunting provinces with our random gen blood mages. That's not a good blood income, but for someone who has no blood income natively, 11, well, we can do something with 11, right? Eventually we might get up to the point. I think the goal is eventually first we need to make rods, and then eventually we need to be able to empower the big guy to actually get proper blood access. Maybe even, I'm not sure we'll have enough income to do this, but we might eventually be able to trade for enough blood slaves to empower Zenantes here up, and if we go to Construction 6, which I plan to, we could make a living selling Bloodthorns and trade our way to the top. I love trade. Then there were 2 battles. One where we cleared the Barbarians in Durland. This should be a generic Atlanteans versus Barbarians. Now you think Barbarians, 24 damage. They might actually hurt us. But we brought some crossbows. We brought a mage, which is cool. So he's going to cast Falling Frost on them as they approach. The infantry's on hold to give him some more time to drop those evocations. See that nice big AoE? Now he should get another cast down before the lines meet. Oh, crossbows killed a few. There we are, dropped. It would have been better if he thinned out the forward lines. Unfortunately, getting the Sacreds in here means that they'll take some damage from the Barbs, but as you can see, Falling Frost does no damage to our guys, so we can freely drop evocations this close. It was bad cast, it mostly hits us, but you saw like 0 damage numbers there, but we're done. So, Barbarians are, hard-hitting units, but they killed one of ours, we killed 54 of them. Done, province cleared. So that's one random attack dealt with. And then we saw someone else fight Barbarians. This is the Zots clearing Barbarians out of this cave. The cave will help these the Zots, because Zots are dark vision. Oh, they're blind. Yeah, that's right. They're full night vision. Whereas the Barbarians are at 7 and 5, respectively. So, kind of hurts. Imps fly in. We've got flying shards. A few casts of... I still think I saw Break the First Soul there, which is a thug killing spell. So maybe this is scripted to deal with Flagrons. I don't know. Anyway, in this sort of environment, Zots can deal with Barbarians, but only in this sort of environment. So they lose a couple of guys. They lose 2 heavy cavalry. They lose 5 human heavy infantry, and they lose 5 of these Zots guards. But they don't lose any mages, and they clear this province. Where is Mines of Despair? Mines of Despair is here. So that's the Throne province on the border. They needed to clear that, it seems, to get their fort up and running again, because, Xibalba looks like they're spread relatively well from here to here, sort of propped in and contained Phlegra. So Phlegra, which was once Ascendant, now seems a little more propped in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, I think 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, so maybe 22. A little more propped, and whatever they hold down here, because this looks like Xibalba and raiding activity, so Phlegra may stretch. I need to get more scouts over here. As you can see, I'm moving through on my way to try and get vision of that war. Important to know how Phlegra is going now that they have the Tyrants out. Random events, not much. 20 province income. Okay. 3 fire gems. At least this time it's more than 1 gem. Great. Worldwide event. Necromancer. Okay, so the Necromancer is over here. Where is he? Here. And he got 2 provinces now. This army is 160 strong. It includes whites, who are actually tough units as well as Long Dead. It's commanded by a white mage. These provinces are now probably entirely dead, so 0 value, and this one's held by Independence and this one's siege. Of course, Independence will never actually assault a fortress, so it's safe from that. And then the walls in Midgard are critically damaged. Annoying, because if we were able to assault this turn, we would have been able to send our mercenaries in first. Unfortunately, they're both running out. We're going to spend a little bit of cash to try and keep the fast strikers, but it's just not worth the gold when we're kind of cash strapped, and we are cash strapped right now to try and keep God's justice. So Giuseppe, thank you for your service. You're gone. But really, this assault is going to be won by Atlantean infantry rather than anything else. We're bringing in a few last reinforcements. The fort will crack. It'll be cracked next turn, and we'll assault next turn. Utgard has, I believe, cracked this fortress and is about to assault it. That's one good thing about giants. He brought some giant infantry. Giant infantry have good siege strength. I can't see any hurlers though. Hurlers would have cracked it even faster. So he'll probably assault that this turn. Raven's keeping this locked down. I'm not. He'll then have to bring some troops over and actually take it. I'm not gonna do him that favour. So yeah, progressing well there. In terms of other wars, Ulm is still here. We can see that Bogarus is definitely besieging Erythia. 230 units, crossbows, heavy infantry, Voi spearmen. The presence of large numbers of Voi and very few Malia Druzhina suggests to me that this is mostly a siege chaff force. I'm not seeing any mages in this list, but I would expect that if he's going to assault, he will bring mages. The cheapest way for Bogarus to take this fort would not be to run straight through the breach with a whole bunch of Voi and human infantry, because if they get clogged up in the gate by a bunch of summons, so if they have Yetis, for example, the Coldor of the Yetis will freeze the ordinary human infantry in the gates and hold them for a while and beat them to death as they're... Yeah, it's just not a good idea. I think Bogarus will probably... I wish I had scouts here. They'll probably bring in mages, possibly air mages or astral mages, or both. Air is probably the best solution to cracking a fortress at this stage of the game. If I had air mages, I would be using them, but unfortunately we're just going to force it the old-fashioned way with an infantry wave assault, because we don't yet have the magic that we need in order to do it more cheaply. But anyway, we'll see what Bogarus does there. For now, they're just breaking down the wall, the 750 wall integrity of that citadel, which is good because it means Midgard also has 750 wall integrity, because it's also a citadel. So yay, free citadel if we manage to take it. Let's not jinx it just yet. The Patalons have expanded and are now very solid, which is good. I like having a nice strong anchor on my right over there. So Phlegra has definitely pulled back, and Gath has reclaimed some of their capital circle from Phlegra, because Phlegra has to go and fight the bats. So I don't know if there's a formal deal there to say, I'll give you some land back, but don't counterattack me too much, or whether Gath has just noticed that Phlegra needs to pull back. There's no mechanism for Utgard to attack Gath. I'm not sure if he wants to continue doing so or if there's a deal. If I was Gath, I wouldn't press the assault into Utgard, because that's just demanding that he send resources that will soon be free up to crush me. So I don't know. We'll see what Gath does. Interesting question, certainly. But what we don't have is much intel from what's going on elsewhere. So we don't know what's happening with Joman. We don't know much of what's happening over here, other than Man and Raga are in a conflict, and we believe Patala is involved as well. Raga was almost originally completely defeated by Man, but that may be being reversed. I'm not sure. I'm going to try and get more information from that, and I will report back. For now, it's just a whole bunch of unverified claims that clash with one another. Economically, we're continuing our usual build patterns. The focus is now on pure ice infantry. I'm going with the sword variant for the moment, because they're rounded against any opponent you happen to face. If you're confident that you're going to have protection buffing magic, or that you're always going to be in cold 3, there's no problem with the glaive ice guard, because you get this extra damage, which is sometimes piercing, which is really, really good, and they still have decent protection. But if you're not sure, particularly if you think you'll be in heat at least some of the time, this shield and this high defense skill means that a lot more of the time these units will be able to parry, and if they parry, that's basically good night sweet prints for the attack. 18 prot, even if this is brought down by heat scales, adding that additional 18 in front means you're basically good to go. So, and this is a high attack value 17 damage, still respectable. So I'm recruiting those everywhere for the moment. We've got Forgiving Fathers coming out in the water. We're starting to collect a few useful randoms, but for the moment, I've just got shit tons of Astral randoms. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 1, 2, 3. So I've got 4 that are not Astral randoms and 5 that are, just in this one province. So I'm Astral randoming it up. Voice of Tiamat's dropping everywhere. We'll see what we find. Expensive, but hey, I have heaps of water gems and I've still got a lot of water gem income. Decent gem reserve. As soon as we get useful spells, we'll start dumping these, but for the moment, I'm just stockpiling a couple. Nature is still the problem. We're up to 10. I'm considering making another Thistle Mace and going over to 3 searches, but as you can see, we're not having a huge amount of luck with the site searching so far. In fact, it's been a while since we had any real success. Anyway, that's it for turn 29. Unfortunately, we are in summer, so we're going to be at cold 2, not cold 3, which impacts our protection. But I think the temperature should tick over 1 next turn, so we might be in cold 3 for the assault, which would be handy for our infantry. But like I said before, my primary concern for the assault is not going to be any of their troops. It will be things like Thunderstrike and Air Elementals, and the only way to deal with those is to rush through the gate as fast as possible. So we'll revise our plans if need be next turn, but for now I will see you in turn 30. Okay, Accidental Ascension turn 30, and we are storming the castle. We're storming the castle. So I had some thinking about this, and we're going to be using, so we have Wailing Winds. Let's take this one step at a time. We have magic and we have troops. We have Wailing Winds. So we have 2 potential approaches to this battle. We could sit everything at the back and wait for the enemy to rout, or we can attempt to rush through and mitigate the damage. What sort of damage am I talking about? So there's a whole bunch of air mages inside who will be able to cast lightning bolts, thunder strikes, and things like that. So the question then becomes, do we take less damage by being at a distance and lowering their precision and waiting for them to rout, or do we take less damage from charging the gate? I looked at this, and it's hard to know for absolute certain, but if you're looking at most of their units, they're a mixture of 12 morale on the Guildermen, who I'm worried about. Not so worried about the Vulva. I'm worried about the Guildermen, who have the air magic, particularly if they are able to get a storm up through someone. The Van Jarls have 14 morale. Their troops, 13 morale, and then Berserk, they're 11 morale, and this is 11 base, right? So they'll also be, if they were created in the capital, they'll be 12 for home province, 13 for friendly dominion, and those pluses. So the long story short is that the morale values on these troops will be very quite high. The Varnheim's units are pretty brave. So I'm going for the approach where I charge through. I expect this will be costly, but I think this is the quickest approach. Anyway, let's go do events. We cast Voice of Tiamat. No, so that's 8 water gems dead. No, so that's 16 water gems dead. That's a Rune of Earth. I don't think that's a gem site. Nope, that's a ritual range by 2 provinces. Bang, okay, 8, 16, 24 gems for nothing. 32 gems for nothing. Okay, so Voice of Tiamat found nothing. That was just water gems wasted, but we know. We now know we won't have to search. And then we searched a whole bunch of provinces. Nup, 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 nup. That was 3 nature searches at N2, and nup. So we're not getting there. And this is a big mage searching. Nup. Grand total of 3 blood slaves this turn. Not great, but hey, tiny little trickle. So look, this is a big fat nope this turn. This is a whole bunch of wasted gems and a whole bunch of site searching that just came to nothing. So look, you can try really hard, but sometimes this game hurts you. Phlegra, let's see what happened here. I'm going to think this is a Phlegran Tyrant. Let me just... I'll do settings later. So we'll zoom out so we can see everything. Looks like lesser air elementals? Yeah, lesser air elementals. So, lesser air elementals against what? Oh, copper plate. Okay. Alright, so So, Xibalba has used the air elemental strategy, or I'm told has been used the air elemental strategy before. And Orm has indicated that they believe that Enceladus, so the first Gigante you get in the game, the least Dragonian Tyrant hero, was killed by air elementals. Clearly, Phlegra has learned, and while this is still not a regenerating tyrant, It now has shock resistant 20. And is obviously immune to trampling. So against a lightning swarm attack that does 6, you're not getting through that because the attack is reduced by 20 points. So no one's going to hurt him. He's 26 protection, and he's tempered fleshed, and he's got some AoE attacks and a whole bunch of attacks. So really, no one can hurt him. Oh look, Fire Shield kills all the air elementals. That sounds really loud. I'm going to adjust that in a moment. And Jibolba is routed. Are these... What's going on here? They have clearly cast something that put them sky high in terms of fatigue. Will they bleed it off by the time the Tyrant comes to get them? Tyrant's not fast, by the way. Combat speed 5 is not quick. These guys are bleeding off their fatigue. As the Tyrant slowly... 110... One's gone. Oh, and 2 died. That was photo finish there. Photo finish. In fact, if they had been set a few more squares back, they may have survived. So, 2 its died there. These are good blood-searching mages. Unfortunate. They would have been the air randoms too, using gems, so that's kind of sad. Butterbobs, Zot's Guards, 1 Obsidian Warrior. Obsidian Warriors... Nah, not high enough. 19 damage would not reliably punch through... would not punch through 26 prot or whatever reliably, so probably leave them at home. 15... Nah. Okay, so really it's only the air elementals have a chance, and air elementals can't hit this one. So what they could be doing, because this is a non-regen one, Break the First Soul, unlike Bleed, doesn't have an MR check. So they could just get some blood mages and inflict bleeding on these things and bleed them to death. That's probably what I would be doing in their situation. I may suggest that to them. If we talk, and we do talk. Events. 5 Astral Pearls. We lost Omia, which is the province near Midgard's capital, so we'll reclaim that next turn. It's just annoying. This costs us the revenue that we would be earning from it. And we killed the Where did we kill the Bogarushian scout? Down here. GC, you're literally fighting a war over here. What are your scouts doing down here? I don't know. GC, if you're watching, why are you scouting down here? Are you trying to get into Ulm? Or are you just interested in what this random froggy province has got going on? Well, okay. Fortress in Agraria is completed. Agraria. Okay, so that's the throne fort here. Very important to get CPs up on that throne, because we will be producing the mages that come from there, because they will be super useful to us. And I'll talk about those once we've got one up and are using it. Midgard has been breached, and God's Justice have left us seeking employments, and we're patrolling Durlin. So Durlin had a bunch of unrest after the barbarians came through. There was no read, so we searched it and patrolled it down while we were waiting, and now we're going to move on. So the Ungercock can take them here, and from Digmore, they're capable of rolling in. This is if we need reinforcements on this front, so if this somehow fails, we'll be positioned. Otherwise, they'll sit there until we have a new target. This is a nice central position that can rapidly redeploy anywhere. And doesn't commit me against any particular foe. It's got Abyssia, Ulm, everything. Doesn't have Patala covered. Sort of has Utgard covered. Like, it's a good position to sort of stage in. And then we're going to keep moving mages around, do some site searching. I still have 1 Nature 1 guy site searching. I'll get him a mace when I can. Probably when he gets to this throne, I'll give him a Thistle Mace. Or I might just retire him there as a researcher and get one of these other ones to cover ground. But you can see I've done a lot of nature site searching already. And found Jack. Found absolute Jack. But that's okay. We're doing more searching. Oh, second Nature 1 searcher still out. I lied. So there's still a couple. I can't express how desperate I am for nature gems and how much I'm searching for them and finding nothing. But that's partly because I'm searching at N1. But even then, that should still give you about 66% coverage. Awkward. Searching, assaulting. What else can I say? Okay, so Ulm has taken Phenofia, 63. And we have to look at what the geopolitics are going to be here in next. I think, and Ulm's language leads me to believe, that there's going to be a conflict between Ulm and Abyssia at some point. So the great alliance of Ulm and Abyssia will break down. We were involved in this alliance too, obviously, so that the tripartite will break down eventually. It will probably break down once Gath is dead. And once Gath is dead, Ulm will probably get into a punch-up with Abyssia. We will probably have to pick a side when that happens. I really like Nassigen, but at the moment Wolfdad is spending a lot more time on the diplomacy, so that's definitely the way I'm leaning. And one of the reasons why I want to be deployed here is so I have options. Abyssea has more of a stretch to them than you'd think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm not sure if 16. I think 16. 17, and then I'm not sure what the status of 18, 19, 20 is. So that puts Abyssea 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Like, they're roughly equal. But where I think there's a difference is I can see 1, 2, 3 Ormish forts just in view here, and there'll obviously be more down here. I can only see one Abyssean fort here. I know they'll have their capital. Look, maybe they have 1 or 2 down here. I think Orm is leading the count in terms of forts, and I think Orm has probably lost a lot less than the Abyssinians have. Especially since they just took this fort. But we don't know. If Abyssea gets Gat's cap, then that'll redress the economic balance and probably give Orm an imperative to move sooner rather than later. Potala needs to clean a fort, but I believe they're focused on like this dimension over here. Not sure what their involvement is. I keep meaning to verify that, but I think I did. I just need to go find my notes after I record this. I try and keep diplomatic notes to make sure I'm on track. For my part, once we storm this castle, we'll see where we go. It's looking like if there is an Orm Abyssinian blow up, then there is a chance Orm calls for aid, in which case we'll send a message to Abyssea and say, look, here's the position we're in, but we probably have to help out the Ormish. If the Ormish do not attack Abyssea, then I will totally stick by my friendship to Abyssea. I have no hostility against them, but it's sort of like when friends make you choose, you have to pick. But in the absence, you're not going to attack either of them, right? Because they're friends. And it's just unilateral aggression without reason makes me feel bad, even in a war game. I just don't think it pays off particularly well. Bogarus has moved, I think, some units off the capital. I think his number's actually lower. It might just be the scout report has cleared itself up. Interesting that Erythia still has all this land around the capital. But we're ultimately waiting to see what happens in the assault. But it does look like we may be the first to assault a capital. So come back in turn 31 and we'll see how the assault went. Alright, welcome back to what I expect will probably be a disappointing episode for a lot of viewers because it is turn 32. I know. So we've had some health issues going on with the family. I've been very preoccupied dealing with those, and as a result, while I put the effort into do the assault scripting last turn, it slipped my mind to save the result of the following turn. So because I was focused on dealing with the both things in my personal life and also the diplomatic fallout of the result. So what happened? I considered drawing up a meme or a cartoon, but in the end, again, I just don't have the time at the moment, so we'll have to describe it in poetic terms. We are the proud owners of Midgard now. It was a very expensive assault in that what we expected to happen more or less happened. So we grouped up around the gate. We charged through. There was a large collection of air mages and astral mages waiting for us, as well as the god, who was a high-level death mage. And as the noble frogs charged into the breach, they were assailed with lightning bolts, with thunder strikes, full-blown thunder strikes, with shadow blasts, and all kinds of stuff like that. Wailing winds would rout the defenders from the walls, as well as most of the smaller mages, but the leaders hung in there, the god hung in there, firing off point-blank evocations, until eventually they were cut down by the noble froggish legions. The total casualty count was about 115 of my infantry. 100 of those were frogs, 15 of those were human archers. I didn't have any human mainline infantry really in the assault. 100 froggish infantry means it was roughly about a third of my total infantry force just evaporated, and that will take quite some time to replace, owing to the resource intensity of the units. Now we can recruit at the moment 3 per turn in Midgard. Once we get the unrest down, it won't really help much. So that gives you an idea of how long it will take to replace 100. We're producing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I would expect we're producing around 33 per turn across all of our forts, which means the replacement time is about 3 turns. So 3 full turns where the army has gone backwards, not up. So you can see there the dip and then the production back in place. So that suggests we might actually recover in about 2-3 turns, but if not for that assault, then our graph would be going way up. So that was by far the most expensive battle of this war. For us at least, Utgard paid a slightly higher price and did not in fact get the capital. So I call this still a strategic win, but still very, very painful in that it blunts the offensive capability of these armies that we had in the west, that up until this point were pretty much unassailable. So reminder kids, armor negating damage does not in fact care about armor. So let's answer the questions of what else has happened, and then the answer to the question of so what in relation to the Midgard War. Let's do a little bit of retrospective and talk about what happens next now that we're at turn 32. Other events, we're just having a whole bunch of swings and misses on the magic site searching. So not only do we find basically nothing with Voice of Tiamat, all of our manual site searching is also achieving basically nothing. Shak, the Jotun Skrati, is now going to be the prophet. So the Skrati is now a prophet. That's interesting because it means if you use it as a thug in your own dominion, it's going to have really good regen, really tough. So I think a Skrati is a good choice. No issue with Utgard naming a Skrati as prophet, and of course you can integrate them into communions, but they don't have holy communion slaves to boost higher. If they had a holy slaves, that would allow you to actually holy boost, which can occasionally be useful. 4 blood slaves. So we're continuing to run this really small blood income where we get a few slaves every turn and run them back. We've got 20 at the moment, plus the 1 income, so that'll go up to 25 next turn when these get unloaded. So just a small little blood economy. Not sure what we're going to do with it yet. I'm considering going to try, possibly in the longer term, go into the market, in that if we can get enough to boost, we can start making blood thorns, and if we can make blood thorns, we might be able to sell them for actual gems or occasionally for blood slaves. So it's useful to have this small little market going, but really it's nothing impressive at this point. What do we have? Some barbarians being killed by GC. We cleared out those militia that took that province. Phlegra attacked Jabolba. Jabolba attacked some independents. Bulgarus took Bear Forest from Erythia. So Erythia is almost dead, by the way, like almost completely gone. Plus 8 Earth Gems and Unrest. Oh, and the Necromancer. Good old Necromancer. So the Necromancer is over here. And he's basically extincted all life from these provinces. I'm not sure if he's expanded to this one. So he's we got a little baby Ermor in this game that's going around causing problems for everyone, and it's kind of sad and funny at the same time. So let's talk about the so what of the Midgard War, and then talk about what's happening around us and where we might want to go next. The Midgard War was a success for us. The total gains were not huge in terms of raw province count because Midgard wasn't very high. Jabolba had poached off some land before the war even started, and then Utgard has taken up the rest. They will be taking that fortress, I imagine, as soon as this army arrives, and at that point, well, Midgard should be eliminated. We took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 provinces from Midgard. However, one was the capital. Capital gives us 3 air gems per turn, which is at the moment accounting for 75% of our air gem income. Important. It's also a 315 income province, which is handy. It comes pre-equipped with a laboratory, and we've added a temple, which means it's a mage production centre and a troop production centre. It's a nice little anchor for our western front. Omir is reasonably valuable. We haven't found any gems there yet. We'll have to search it. Summerlin's very valuable. Fom, not so valuable. So this is a decent chunk of change. All told, I think this accounts for about 15% to 20% of our total incomes at the moment, which is not bad for an early war of expansion that cost us the equivalent of, let's see, 100 infantry, 1,600 gold. We've gained, so this war will probably pay for itself in about 4 or 5 turns in terms of gold. Maybe a little bit less, but certainly paid for itself in terms of additional infrastructure and gems. We'll take that, especially if there turn out to be gem incomes in these provinces. There were none in these. Oh, we took these as well. This was, okay, so we got, that's useless. 1 water gem and 2 okay, so this definitely paid for itself. This is a good war. 4, 5, 6, 7 gems, plus possibly more to come. the gold really being secondary, but should pay for the war effort. So all good. Utgard, meanwhile, gained 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 provinces. So more provinces, but none of them was the capital, and I think they paid a higher price in terms of their conflict. All in all, I'm relatively happy with our performance there. We were lower commitment, we were lower loss, and we still got some pretty good prizes out of it. No idea what the gem income of these provinces are, but it does mean Utgard. So Utgard made the choice to focus over here rather than like clear barbs off this forts over here. So I imagine if someone like General Confusion is looking at Utgard, they'd be like, oh man, what a train wreck of a nation. But the reality is Utgard runs 1, 2, or from around here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, I think 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So Utgard's actually, while distended, certainly, and that was quite a conservative count, big now. So I would call that a victory for them as well. Side note, all these Gathian flags. So Ulm basically tapped out of the Gath War, knowing that they weren't going to get the capital because Abyssia was going to get the capital or Phlegra was going to get the capital. So Ulm tapped out of that war. We got cut off, obviously, so we're no longer involved, which left Abyssia and Phlegra in a race for the capital. Phlegra is really heavily committed to this war with the Bats, and I've been in contact with the Bats and with Phlegra, but mostly in contact with the Bats, which is really occupying them and has cost them a Laestrygonian tyrant, but they're doing okay apart from the fact the Bats can raid really well and Laestrygonians are probably not out in critical numbers just yet. So the Phlegrans were pushed back with their forces not even available to clear out the Necromancers. This area here is just lacking for Phlegran armies that are presumably busy dealing with the Jabalbans. The Abyssians had some badly timed stales and then some very conservative moves and lost a lot of assassins on the Gathian capital. The end result of all of which is Gath has like 4 or 5 provinces left and is in a staring contest with the Abyssians. I did not expect Gath to be alive at this point, let alone re-expanding, which is what they currently are. I think that what they're doing is thugging the Abyssians. At least that's what my best intelligence and conversation suggests. So thugging with fire-resistant Serens and things like that. We saw them name their prophet a couple of turns back, and pushing the Abyssians back. So that's bizarre. That's absolutely bizarre, but it is Dominions, and until you're out, you're not out. They had their capital, and that is presumably all they really needed in order to get a steady stream of thugs out, especially if people are funneling them gems and equipment. I'm not, but others may be. Ulm has been focused on getting their blight economy sorted, which I imagine is what a lot of these wolves will go out and do and search. They took a few easy gains from the Erythian War without actually fighting any battles, so they left GC with most of it, but they took a couple of provinces for basically free, whereas GC has paid quite an expensive price for his provinces. The Patalans have expanded and are now in a strong position relative to where they were. And over here, Man continues to fight a war with Raga, and I believe what happened there is Man had almost defeated Raga, then Man had a badly timed stale or two, and now the prospect of Patalan intervention is real. In fact, I believe Patala has already intervened in favour of Raga, which puts Man in a difficult spot. So the question there is where to for us? What do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish next? Because we finished our first war, we now need to decide what happens with the next one. Well, we've got a couple of options, and I'm actually going to ask advice of Lucid Tactics. I'm going to run him by my thinking and where I'm planning to go next, and I'll get his feedback if he's willing to offer it, just to check my strategic thinking, because here's basically where I'm at. I like Utgard as a neighbour. In fact, I think one of my great goals is going to be to try and convince Utgard to eventually cast Illwinter. If they cast Illwinter, thus making everything cold 3, my economy will be fine, my troops will be fine, and everyone else will suffer. If that happens, Utgard may be disliked by people, but with his longest border being with me, I don't think anyone will actually be clamouring to attack him. Which may convince him to cast it, and that would be absolutely great for me. So that may be something that I do there. Utgard is weak enough that I could probably win a conflict, but strong enough that it would be slow, grindy, and dangerous. In particular, I don't have a great counter to Skelly spam at the moment. Falling Frost is useless against skeleton spam. The front is really long, and he'll have the ability to put out communions relatively quickly, especially with all these extra forts he's taken. Remember, Utgard doesn't need to temple these forts in order to make Sith Corner in them. They can produce the Jotun troops, they can produce Skrati, and they can produce Sith Corner in any fort. It's only the Norna that require the capital. So I'm not keen on fighting Utgard. Now, there is a very real chance that Orm and Abyssia get into a fight over the now slightly larger carcass of Gath. If that happens, it is likely both will ask us for assistance. And my question then is, okay, is my optimum choice then to go in and to assist? And if so, whom? We'll come back to that because that's a more significant prospect. Let's rule out the easy ones first. Xibalba. Should I attack Xibalba? I don't think so. So Xibalba is a Heat 3 Dominion, which is instantly a no-go. Like, we'd need to Wolven Winter and press. We don't want to fight in Heat 3 Dominion a long way away from our own Dominion. Our own Dominion's all the way down here. It'll take ages to push it out here, and by then it'll be established. And I think Xibalba can Blood Sacrifice too, which effectively doubles the efficacy of their temples and just makes Dom pushing them really bloody hard. Also, they're fighting the Phlegrins, and I don't want to fight the Bats. Have a really difficult war with the Bats raiding me while I sort of try and push in on them. I don't really have the siege strength to clear forts, especially with Zot defending flyers and whatnot. In Heat 3, again, might I add. Mind you, he wouldn't want to fight a war with me either, because coming into Cold 3 makes his cold-blooded units basically useless. His mages will fatigue out very, very quickly. And if I fight my way through him, then Phlegra will take probably most of the spoils, and then I'm left confronting Phlegran Tyrants. And who really wants to confront Phlegran Tyrants? If they get there, gear up, I need to switch tactics and gear myself to fight super combatants rather than troops and mages, and that's just a whole bunch of effort that I really don't want. And my empire would be super distended out this way. Like, I would be vulnerable to, at that point, Utgard, Phlegra, Abyssia, which age are we in? Late age, so Jomon. I think this is Pythium over here. Like, it would just be bad news, geographically bad news. So I don't want to extend into Xibalba. So Xibalba, friend. Potala, I have a very good relationship with. So they're kind of out as a target, which leaves, like, forget strategy for a moment, they're just out, which leaves Orm and Abyssia. And the potential for an Ormish Abyssian war. We'll monitor this closely. I think that I will have just on a sort of a loyalty level, I'll have a very hard time if Wolfdad asks for assistance, despite the alliance that we've had. I think I'll have a very hard time saying no, but I'm not comfortable sparking this war immediately myself. So for the moment, what I'm going to do is centralize my positioning, rebuild my infantry corps, get my research sorted, get a second opinion, and then see where we go in terms of next offensives. We're very fortunate in the sense that we're wealthy, our research is strong, our gem income is okay, and we have the initiative. We're in a position to pick our next war. So I'm going to centralize, get myself ready, and then after we've had a chat with the other players and I've called in some advice to check my thinking, we'll see where we go next. So that was turn 32. Hope you enjoyed the very visual battle of Midgard that I got to show you, and I'll see you all in turn 33.